everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Rena. Here in this channel I share everything about sewing and knitting. Today it's going to be a sew along. The pattern that I'm going to use for this project is Burda 6632. I'm not going to make exactly this blouse. I'm going to make some changes because I really like the fit on me on the sleeves. But I wanted to make a blouse, you know, like there is a bow in front on the collar. I think in French it's very chic. We call it the col lavalière, but I think in English it's called Pussycat blouse. So I really wanted to make that one for me. So I will start with this pattern and make some changes. A few more words about this pattern. Everybody told me Burda patterns are very complicated to follow, especially the instructions. They're very simple, very few words about each steps. As I really liked this model, I bought it, but I agree that the Burda pattern is not very easy to follow. I think I found only one video on YouTube where is an instruction for this pattern, but it was all in Russian, but I managed to follow the video and then make the pattern. I made two blouses out of this pattern previously. The first one, it was really, I would say it's a fail because I always forgot Burda pattern, they don't have the seam allowance. All the other patterns, like modern patterns, they always include the seam allowance, but this one they don't have it and I forgot it. I cut it too small, so I will try to find a fake picture and then put it on the screen. You can see like it's very tight on the shoulder, it's not very good, and also the fabric that I choose, I think it wasn't the right fabric. So anyway, it was kind of a fail at the first version. I had a second version out of this. That time I know there was no seam allowance, it was the right cut, but I'm still not very happy about the fabric choice. I think the fabric, the color is too close to my skin tone, so it doesn't very flatter me. Anyways, I'm not sure if I'm going to make this exact blouse again, so let's hope that today the change, like the new hack version, would be a success. So let's get started. Let me show you now quickly the simple modifications that I made to have this pussycat collar. Here is the front piece of the pattern. The original pattern, the front ended just here. But I add one piece here so that I have the right shape of the collar and then also enough space for the button band. I also folded here so just the shirt is a bit shorter for my size. And as we have the front piece, you also have to make a matching facing for the front piece. So now our collar shape is done. And in order to add this pussycat bow tie, so you just need to cut off from the fabric a rectangular length of 95 centimeters approximately, and then the width of 12 centimeters. In the original pattern, they have a cuff, a very small narrow cuff, but I'm a big fan of larger cuffs, so I decided to make a larger ones like this. And other than that, as I shorten the front, I also need to shorten the back piece as well, and this is everything that I need to do for this change. Now let's talk about the fabric. So here's the fabric that I picked up. This is a very beautiful dark forest green fabric. I think I have approximately 1.5 meters for this project. There is a funny story about this fabric. I have already bought this fabric once before the second version, but I accidentally washed it in the washing machine. So basically, yeah, I can say that it's pretty much ruined. But I'm still hoping that if I don't have enough fabric on the second one, I can still find some of the intact parts and then cut some of the pieces from the first version that I bought.
What's the angle? I'm not playing that game. It's the same business with a different name. Who's the target? Sorry, I'm not in the market. If I quit buying, you can't sell me anything.
what you doing now, Rena?
I'm cutting the bow tie for the collar. So it will be looking like this. Here I cut all the pattern pieces, only for the back and front facing. I cut also inner facing and also for the cuff, so that it will be a little bit more structured. For the next step, we are going to overlock some pieces to prepare for the sewing. In this pattern, on the shoulder and then on the back, there are very nice pleats. We can see it here from the pattern. So 3 pleats on the front, 3 pleats on the back. So I'm going to prepare the pleats first before constructing the pieces together.
Rena? Why are we doing pleats?
Why are we doing pleats? I think the pleats in the blouse, especially on the shoulders, they're very chic. But also on the back, when you add some pleats, it will give you a little bit more volume. So I think it's a nice fit, I would say. I finished pinning all the pleats, so I can finally start sewing. But first, let me change the threads. I finished sewing the pleats. Here's how it looks, the back piece. And this is the front piece. Next step is the back yokes. We have 2 pieces like this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to sandwich the 2 back yokes with the back piece. And then we're going to put it together with the front piece on the shoulder of the yokes. So the front and the back will be constructed together. I just finished sewing the back yokes to the back piece. We have a small situation here. I don't know how it happened, but one of the back yoke piece is much shorter than the back piece and another yoke. I guess it's because the fabric is so slippery. When I was cutting it, maybe I didn't pay that much attention. So be extra careful and precise when working with a slippery fabric like this. I don't think I'm going to recut the fabric and redo the whole thing. What I will do is when I sew the sleeves to the armhole, I'm just going to cut a little bit to make them even. Hopefully it won't make too much of a disaster. Thank you. The front pieces, yokes, and back pieces are sewn together. Here's how it looks like now. It's getting a bit dark outside. Let's continue tomorrow. Good morning, everyone. It's day 2. I grabbed my cup of coffee and then ready to start my project today. So if you remember, the next step for today is to close the side seams first. It is very important to iron out the seam after each step of sewing. And if your fabric is a little bit delicate like this one, you can always put a layer of cotton fabric to protect it. finishing the side seams, it's time for the sleeves. So for the sleeves, there are a few steps. The slit, the cuff, and we also have a couple of pleats in the cuff as well. So I already went ahead, finished the slit here. So what I will do is finish up the pleats, attach the cuff, and also close the side seam of the sleeve.
Hey Rena, what's the weather right now in Norway?
Oh, it's very cold. Isn't it like minus 24 or something? Yeah, it's very cold. So I don't want to go out. And I think sewing is a super perfect opportunity, just staying home and cozy and doing some activities. Now the both sleeves are done, looking like this. And before putting the sleeves on the bodice, I would like to finish the collar first. Basically, you have the facing for the back of the collar, 2 pieces for the front of the collar. So we start by attaching the front pieces to the back piece on the shoulder seam.
Space you do, like a candle in the dark.
Neckline pieces are sewn together and then I ironed the seam already. Let's set this aside and tackle the pieces for the bow tie. So at the beginning of the video, I mentioned that you need one piece of 95 centimeter rectangular. It was a mistake, so you need actually 2, exactly the same. Length is 95 centimeter, the width is 12 centimeter. The first step now here is to attach them together, right sides together on a seam. So this seam at the end will be the center back line. So let me show you how to sew this to the neckline. This is the neckline of the shirt. So we have front pieces and then the back yoke here. So here is the neckline, right side facing towards us. Now we are going to decide for this bow tie piece. As I explained, this will be the center back line, will be sewn on the yoke here. So we need to decide until where the bow ties piece will be sewn. So the rest will be the loose part that will be tied together. For my version, I would like to stop sewing here on the neckline. So let's mark the spot. And you need to get this spot exactly on the other side. So fold it on the center back line, find the second spot, and then mark it as well. Now we have the 2 points that we just marked earlier. We are going to turn the piece, fold it right sides together, and then sew from the point outwards. Means leave the center open. When you sew until the end, make sure to end it with the triangle so that you will have a nice pointy edge to the bow tie. Now it's all pinned together, I'm going to sew it.
Rena, how long does it take you to make this blouse?
I started yesterday. So I'm hoping to finish the blouse today. If I say we work like 5-6 hours a day, maybe it will take me 10 plus hours to finish the blouse. After sewing, cut off the excess fabric from the edges and then turn the 2 sides inside out with the help of a chopstick or any tool that you have.
Day in pouring rain, I felt kinda low. Is it all in vain? Then you hit me up.
I turn the bow ties right side out and then I iron it. It starts looking very good. I'm very excited. So now let's move on to the next step. This is not a mandatory step, but as I have a very slippery fabric, I'm going to close this open edge with a very small seam allowance so that it will facilitate the pinning afterwards.
Hey Rena, what's going on outside?
Oh, I can barely see anything. I think there are a lot of fog outside. Now the next step is pin the bow tie to the collar. So as we explained earlier, the center of the bow tie to the center back, and then until the point that we marked, so it's going to be sewed all around. At this stage, you can also pin the facing of the collar and then sandwich all three and then sew them together. But as the fabric is very slippery, I wanted to be extra careful and then sew them in 2 separate steps. After pinning this, I'm going to sew it with a very small, maybe 0.5 centimeter of seam allowance, so that when we add at the end the facing of the collar, this previous seam will stay inside. Now that the bow tie is sewn to the collar, we are going to sew the facing to the collar. So right sides together, pin them all around until the end of the front center. Let's see how it looks after pinning. So here we have the collar lining, wrong sides towards us. And in between, we have the bow tie sandwiched. And we have the bust. So please be extra careful when pinning just towards bow tie. We sew it until a point, so you have to push the bow tie outside when you're pinning the rest of the collar. So here you have the bow ties, and then the collar looks like this. So it's separated from the point that we marked, and then this is the inside. Now let's stitch the sleeve to the body. Now that the sleeves are sewn, we're almost done. We just need to finish the hem and then sew the buttons on it. Here, this is my favorite step, choosing the buttons for the blouse. I'm here with my advisor. Let's see how she's going to help me with this. I have several options here, so yeah, I'm still hesitating which ones to choose. The light green one, or maybe the creamy. I think I like this creamy button. Let's pick this one. What do you think?
Yeah.
It's all done. Let's take a look at it.
Will you try it on?
Yes.
You've been getting closer, the back of my head, trying to see what's in it, so I let you in. Almost like a war song being apart. So take me to the skies before we hit the ground. If I wait just a minute.
What are the takeaways?
Yes, I actually have 4 takeaways to share. First of all, this was a very slippery fabric, as you understood. So I think it was a quite good practice for me for next time when I want to buy a silk fabric. It's also quite delicate and slippery. I think I will be handled better the next project. For the second takeaway, I would say it's about the hem. So as you know, I tried a curved hem, but it was difficult to sew it at the end. So for the next project, I think I will go with the straight hem. Another takeaway, you have to be aware that when you're using a synthetic fabric, it creates a lot of static electricity. So it can pick up the dust, hair, and also it could be a bit, I would say, too close to the skin sometimes. So that you need to be aware of. For the last one, I wouldn't say it's really a takeaway, it's just my personal touch when I'm sewing blouse. For instance, for the buttons, I usually sew only 2 buttonholes, and then for the rest, I will just go with the straight buttons sewed to the button band, because when I take on or take off the blouse, I usually only open 2 buttons and then take it on and off from the head. So I think it will be nicer to the fabric, because buttonholes usually they create a little bit more stretch to the fabric, so it's better if you can avoid it. If you're still here, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next time. Bye!